Okay guys, so right now we are in the middle of winter, and I know a lot of you guys out there use this downtime to service and maintain your reels. And a lot of you guys actually do this yourself. And while you're doing this, you probably come to this conundrum. And the conundrum is, should you just clean your stock spool bearings, or should you look into getting some of those fancy spool bearings you see on YouTube or all over the internet that spin for 3 days at a time? And will those bearings give you any kind of performance advantage over the clean stock spool bearings? And this is also probably a question for you guys who have bad stock spool bearings. Should you just order a set of factory replacements, factory original spool bearings, or should you look into getting some of those fancy long spinning spool bearings on YouTube? So I figured it'd be the perfect time to have yet another ball bearing test. But this is not going to be just any old ball bearing test. It's actually going to be a 3-way ball bearing shootout. Now the reel I'm going to use is, of course, this reel right here, the Curado 200i from Shimano, in case you didn't know. And this is the perfect reel, in my opinion, for this shootout. And the first reason is that I believe this reel sold in such large quantities that a lot of people still use them and they're going strong. And it's still a top performing reel as well. Even with all the new reels that have come out, I believe this is still a top performing reel. And also, personally, before I started my YouTube channel, this was the reel that I used the most, right alongside my 13 METANIUM and my Shimano ALDEBARAN 50. So this got the most use. I used it for a good solid 2 or 3 years, every weekend, about 8 to 10 hours a day, Friday and Saturday, when I used to fish a lot more. And I've never ever done a thing to this reel. I've never serviced it or maintained it. It's just held up so great. The only thing I've done was oil the brake pipe when it got noisy. So it's been what is it, 2014 when this came out? So it's been about 5 years since the release of the Curado I. So let's talk about the 3 ball bearing contenders that are going to be participating in this shootout. Now I just want to let you know that I'm not going to be using any kind of high dollar ceramic bearings that are like 40 or 50 bucks a piece. I'm going to be using bearings that pretty much anyone can afford. Now the first set of bearings, of course, are going to be the stock Shimano spool bearings. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to take them and soak them in acetone for 24 hours and try to get as much oil out of them as I can. Now, once again, I've never even done anything to this reel, so I'm not even sure what the state of the stock bearings are, but as you can see, they're spinning really quiet. So I think they're in good shape. Now, I just want to let you know that these are the Shimano anti-rust bearings, or SARBs, but these are not those super high-end SARBs that come in the JDM reels or come in Shimano's higher-end reels. Now, just to prove that point, I went on eReplacementParts.com and priced one stock spool bearing, and it was between $5 to $6 for the Curado for a replacement. And then I priced the spool bearings for like a Core 50 and a CALAIS DC, and those were like $19 a piece. So there's definitely a difference between the lower end SARBs and the higher end SARBs they use in the more expensive reels and the JDM reels from Japan. So the second set of bearings are going to be these right here, the Spool high speed bearings, or Spool Speed for short. Now, a subscriber sent these to me because he wanted me to do a test to see if these would help a Scorpion DC cast farther. And if you haven't seen that video, just check out my ball bearings playlist and you'll see the results of that. And right now these are running, I believe, $17 on Spool Speed's website. And these are hybrid ceramics. So that means they have the ceramic balls with the stainless steel races. Okay, so the third set of bearings participating are going to be some JDM bearings. And these are going to be the Hedgehog Studios ZR bearings. Now these are, I believe, stainless steel, so they're not ceramic in any way. They are made for, general purpose use, from lures of 5 all the way up to 50 plus grams. And it says on their website it's made for long casting. And these are only $20. Now the ceramic hybrids from Hedgehog Studios run close to $40, so these are a bargain by comparison. As you can see, they are open-faced on one side. Okay, so those are the 3 contenders. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take out the stock bearings and soak them in acetone. Okay guys, so I got my container and my acetone, and all we have to do is take out these spool bearings. So for Shimano reels, it's generally really easy. You just gotta take the spool bearing that's under the spool tension cap out, and then there's one in the side plate. So let's do the one in the side plate first because that is the easiest one. Okay, so let me take a look at these. And actually they look pretty greasy. It looks like there's Vaseline all over that bearing. It's kind of gross. Okay, so let's pull this spool out, just so it'll make it easier to access that bearing. So you have to take out this little clip that's holding the bearing in place. If I can find an edge. And since this side plate is attached, this is a little bit harder, but I'll get it out. Okay, finally, I just needed a sharper pair of tweezers. There's the clip. And let me see if I have a Q-tip around here. I used to have a rusty pair of tweezers that I used to use, but I can't find them. Maybe this bearing tool will help me get it out. Okay, so I finally got that side plate bearing out, and that was more of a hassle than I thought. And let's take a look at this thing. This thing is greased up. Looks like there's just Vaseline all over this thing. In fact, there's so much grease it looks like it's discolored there on the bottom end. So I wonder why this thing casts so damn good with this much grease on the bearing. So with this much grease on the bearing, I wonder how much grease is on the inside. So I hope that acetone will do the trick. Now let's get to this other bearing here. All you have to do is unscrew the spool tension, make sure that your star drag is set in a position where you can easily move it if you need to. There you go. Okay, there's the other bearing, and that looks greased up as well. Okay, so where is my Q-tip? Hopefully this will come out easy because I'm gonna have to change these bearings out in the field. And that's gonna be a pain in the ass if they don't come out that easy. Okay, that one just came out. Let's take a look at this one. This one is not quite as greased up as the other one, but it's still pretty greasy. So yeah, Shimanos are always known to be super greasy from the factory. And the reason being is they don't know how long these reels are going to sit on the shelf. At least that's the reason that we've been told. And they don't want them to dry out. Okay, so I'm going to try to wipe as much of this extra grease off as I can before I put them in acetone. Hopefully I won't be driving them into the bearing even more by doing this. But before we drop them in acetone, we're gonna do a free spool test on the bearings. See how well they spin. Alright, so hopefully this will focus and you guys can see this. I'm gonna move this out of the way. Okay, so maybe like a second, 1 second spin time, maybe a little bit more. It's disappointing. All right, let's focus here. Okay, so this one's even worse. It's not even a second. So that's pretty bad. Okay, so let's drop them in the container. And right now it is 8:20 on February the 15th. And I'm gonna leave the shields on. Okay, here goes the acetone. I'm not gonna put that much in it, just enough to soak them fully. And I have a cover here. And we're gonna take these out after 24 hours. Okay, so see you guys in 24 hours. Okay guys, so it is 9/16, Saturday, February the 16th. So it's been well over 24 hours since I've dropped these Curado eye bearings into the acetone. So we're gonna pull them out now. I'm gonna stick them on this tissue paper here. And I stuck this jar up to the light and I can actually see chunks of grease or whatever the hell that was, Vaseline or whatever, floating inside the acetone. So those bearings were really greased up. Okay, so the next step is I'm gonna stick them under a hair dryer and I'm gonna try to dry all the acetone out. Probably do it for about 30 minutes and then I'm gonna spin them on the bearing tool to see how well they spin. Okay guys, so I've successfully dried the stock bearings and as you can see they look a lot better than they did before they went into the acetone. Now let's check out the free spool time or the spin time of the stock bearing. Now I believe one of the bearings didn't even spin a second. So that's a little bit better. That's like 1 second. But I can tell you that they don't spin very smooth. Let's try this other one here. Okay, so this one's a little better. It spins around 2 seconds. Okay, that's a little bit better. Now I will tell you this, that a lot of people, when they clean their bearings out, they'll pry these shields off to get in there more, but I wanted to keep this cleaning really simple that anyone could do. But the free spool times or the spin times for these stock bearings, while they did improve, let me show you this. This is the spool speed bearing. right? The hybrid ceramic. And I'm just barely gonna touch this. And that thing is just going and going and going. Now, of course, impressive spin times, you know, in your house, or, you know, when you have a reel loaded full of line, just sitting there spinning is one thing, but out on the field, that's something totally different. The lures are in the air only a short amount of time. So we're gonna have to see what happens. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to run these spool speeds with the shields that they came with, and I'm gonna lube them up with the Hedgehog Alchemy oil. And this is the ultralight. And here is the box they came in. I've had this for years. As you can see, I barely even used any. This thing will last you several years. But also what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop a drop of the oil into the stock bearings. But the ZR bearings from Hedgehog already came pre-lubed from them. And you can kind of see a small film of oil in this packaging. So I'm going to run the spool speed bearings with the shield and with the drop of lube. The reason I'm doing that is because when I tested these bearings on the Scorpion, they were so loud, and also they were very unsmooth when casting and actually reeling the plug back in. So hopefully putting the shields on and dropping a drop of oil will smoothen them out and quiet them down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out on the field, and I'm probably going to throw either one of these lures or one of these plugs. I'm probably going to do the 3/8 or maybe the 1/4 ounce. I'll decide when I get out there, but I'm going to do the standard brake setting, where I leave the brake setting inside and keep it the same for all 3 reels. And then I'm also going to do a series of casts where I back the brakes down as much as possible and do several casts that way to see if, you know, certain bearings will give us the ability to back the brakes down and give farther casting. So there's forecast for rain tomorrow. Hopefully it won't be so bad that I'll be able to go out there and get this test done. It's probably going to take me a couple of hours, and hopefully the ground won't be soaked full of puddles. But if it is, I will just wait until a drier day to do that. So see you out on the field. Okay guys, so first up we have the clean stock brakes, and the lowest I was able to go is 2 on inside with the external dial set to 1, and the spool tension is set to just eliminate the side-to-side play. And I decided on throwing the 1/4 ounce casting plug. So here we go. Okay guys, so I've installed the Spool Speed ceramic hybrid bearings, as you can see, with the lime green shield there. And of course I've also put it underneath the spool tension, and oddly enough, the lowest I could go with the brakes was 2 brakes on inside. Spool tension set to just minimize the side-to-side play, and then 1 on the external dial. So let's see what happens. Okay guys, so last but not least, we have the Hedgehog Studios ZR bearings. As you can see, they got the open face. The lowest I could go was, just like the others, 2 brakes on inside. These 2 right here. 1 on the external dial, and the spool tension is set to minimize the side-to-side play. So let's see what happens. Okay guys, so I finally was able to complete the field test today, and I want you to take a look at my phone here and check out the date. It's February the 28th. So it's been almost 2 weeks since I shot the first portion of this video, and today was the first day that I was able to get out there and it hasn't been raining or flooding. Alright, so that being said, let's get into this. As you can see, I opted to throw the 1/4 ounce casting plug, and I did that for a couple of reasons. Now, the first reason was that the Curado eye actually went through the 1/4 ounce casting plug before, and also I wanted to see how this would fare against the METANIUM MGL's numbers. And also, since the 1/4 ounce casting plug doesn't fly that far, I didn't have to do as much walking. Okay, so I split this up into, I guess, 2 tests. Now, the first test was to back the brakes down for each set of bearings as low as they can go without blowing up the spool. And then I had a preset setting for the brakes, and then they would all go through that test as well. Now, I only did 3 casts a piece, but let's get to the results. Now, strangely enough, all 3 of the bearings, the lowest they could go was 2 brakes on inside, 1 on the external dial with the spool tension set to just minimize the side-to-side movement. So that being said, coming in last place is going to be the cleaned stock bearings with an average of 141.97 feet. Coming in second place is going to be the Hedgehog Studios ZR bearings, and this was kind of surprised. I thought these bearings would win the whole test, and these average 142.91 feet, so barely even a foot longer than the stock, so basically no performance gain at all. And coming in first place were the spool speed bearings with shields, and I just wanted to say I put 2 drops of the Hedgehog oil in them, as well as the clean stock bearings. And it averaged 143.11 feet. So just barely beating them both, but more on this later. Something really weird happened out there. Okay, so let's talk about the preset braking test. Now, the preset braking test, I opted to run 3 brakes on inside, 1 on the external dial, and spool tension set the same. And I did this because I knew all 3 of these bearings would be able to handle 3 brakes on. That's kind of a middle brake setting for the Curado. And coming in third place for the Hedgehog ZR bearings for the preset braking portion. Coming in at a disappointing 124.44 feet. I wouldn't say disappointing, but just disappointing in this test. And then coming in second place were the clean stock bearings at 129.72 feet. And then blowing both of these other bearings away were the spool speed hybrid ceramics at 141.47 feet. But this is where the strangeness and the weirdness came. Now, so I'm gonna pull up my cast numbers here. Okay, so the spool speed bearings, the first cast on the preset brake test was 134.7 feet. Now the next cast was 144.5 feet, and then the next cast after that was 145.5. So all of a sudden, the cast distance jumped up by like 10 feet. And I know it wasn't wind, so that got me really puzzled. It's just like the bearings just woke up all of a sudden. And I decided to go ahead and redo the first test for the spool speed bearings. Okay guys, so I got some really weird numbers with the spool speed bearings during the preset braking test. So I'm going to redo the first casts with only 2 brakes on and 1 on the external dial. So let's see what happens. .151 feet 6 inches. 152 feet 2 inches. $153 feet 5 inches. And it averaged 152.36 feet, so really just dusting off these other two bearings. So the spool speed bearings actually win this shootout between the Hedgehog ZR bearings, the stainless steel, and the clean stock bearings. And the great part about it was that since I put the shields on and a couple of drops of lube, they were really quiet versus the last time I tested these bearings when I ran them dry with no shields. But they were still the loudest, but I didn't even think about the noise. Is the best compliment I could give these bearings when you had the shields on. Now the smoothest bearings and the quietest were the Hedgehog ZRs, but as you can see, you got literally negative gain in performance over the clean stock bearings. So for those of you who've been eyeing those ZRs, or just eyeing a set of bearings to replace your spool bearings with, looks like the best route to go is going to be the hybrid ceramic route. But yeah, just give me a comment if you guys are experienced with ceramic hybrids, why all of a sudden I gained the distance like that without changing anything. Yeah, leave that in the comments if you know. Okay guys, so it looks like if you are looking to replace your stock spool bearings on your Shimano Curado I, then it looks like the best performance bet for you is going to be a set of hybrid ceramics. Okay guys, thanks a lot.